What's up, guys? T-Rock1992 here. For this next video and for my next movie review, I'm going to be reviewing a movie that came out in February of this year. It is a romantic comedy film. By the way, I am a fan of romantic comedies. I'm not afraid to admit it. You know, I'm a fan of them. I like comedy in general. It's one of my favorite genres. So I don't mind if they add the romance to these comedies. So, yeah, I like romantic comedy films, and I'm not ashamed to say it. It stars... This movie has a lot of big talent. Dakota Johnson, Rebel Wilson, Allison Brie, and Leslie Mann are the four main leads in the movie. Main characters. And this movie is How to Be Single. How to Be Single is notable, actually, in kind of a way. It's notable to me because it came out the same weekend as Zoolander 2 and Deadpool. I was looking forward to Deadpool and Zoolander 2 more so than I was How to Be Single. I was like, you know, I'll watch How to Be Single. I'm not going to go out and see it in the theaters, which I didn't do, but I'll just see it, you know, on Putlocker and all that, just later on. So, I mean, I thought How to Be Single, you know, well, I'll talk about that after anyway, with what I was thinking about. But anyway, this movie in general is about four people who... Dakota Johnson is your main star in this movie. She's first billed for a reason. The story kind of centers around her, but it also goes into a lot of the other characters. You get into what Leslie Mann's up to. You go into what Rebel Wilson's up to, and then Allison Brie. So these are four people who have to navigate trying to be single, basically. So, How to Be Single is pretty straightforward. This movie is about four women who are trying to be single. They have been in committed relationships before. I think at least two of them were in committed relationships before. They want relationships, but they have to navigate through how to be single, basically. So that pretty much is your major... It's a another easy plot to really talk about. It's pretty simple. Four women who want relationship. Four different women who become single in four different ways, basically. So, let's talk about the stars first off. I mean, you have the four-person cast. You have pretty much four leads, give or take. They're featured on the poster and all that. Dakota Johnson, Rebel Wilson, Allison Brie, and Leslie Mann. Let's talk about Dakota Johnson first off. She was great in this movie. Dakota Johnson, probably best known for 50 Shades of Grey. You know, although 50 Shades of Grey was a critical disappointment, it made a lot of money, and people actually did commend Dakota Johnson for delivering an alright performance. In this movie, she shows she can get comedy down as well. You know, she shows she has great comedic chops. So I really do think Dakota Johnson is one of the best in this film. Rebel Wilson, who is probably... I best know her for Night of the Museum 3. And I think in Night of the Museum 3, she was very funny. She's an Australian comedian. And Rebel Wilson in this one's very, very funny. Leslie Mann, best known for a lot of comedy movies like Knocked Up, you know, This Is 40, and a lot of other films as well. And I've talked about Leslie Mann before. She's probably considered one of the best female comedians in the movies today. Leslie Mann certainly had her moments. And then Allison Brie, who I best know quite sexually from Get Hard. Get Hard, the Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart movie that came out last year. Allison Brie had a supporting role in the movie, and from what I saw, I mean, she played a very sexualized role, and she played it very well. In this movie, she plays kind of a hopeless romantic type character, and she does a great job in this movie. So you have the 4 central performances as very good to good performances. And I think the standouts in this movie have to be Dakota Johnson and Rebel Wilson, because, first of all, the chemistry between these two is so good. Johnson and Wilson, their chemistry is great. Dakota Johnson and Leslie Mann, their chemistry is great. Even Rebel Wilson and Leslie Mann's chemistry is very good as well. Some of the romantic interests, the guys in this movie, are actually pretty good. There's a guy, an actor named Nicholas Braun, who plays Dakota Johnson's love interest, and him and Dakota Johnson, they have good chemistry together. Jason Mantzoukas, who I mentioned in an earlier video for Dirty Grandpa. Jason Mantzoukas appears in another 2016 movie, and he is good. And he has more of a limited role than he did in Dirty Grandpa, but he still does well with the role that he has, for sure. Funny guy. Very funny guy. Worth mentioning, Colin Yost, who is on Saturday Night Live currently. He is in this movie as well. Damon Wayans Jr. is in this movie. He's one of the Wayans brothers. They both do pretty good jobs in this movie. There's another guy, Leslie Mann's love interest, who plays Leslie Mann's love interest, and his name is Jake Lacey. He does pretty well in the movie. He has good chemistry with So, yeah, overall, I mean... Oh, and another guy named Brett Morin, who's in one of my favorite shows on TV right now, a show called Undateable. Actually, it recently got canceled. That sucks, too, but that Brett Morin is in the movie, and he does pretty well, too, in a limited role. So, yeah, I mean... This movie coasts on its chemistry. The chemistry between the males and the females in this movie are very good. The chemistry between the females is good. You know, this is a very good romantic comedy movie. So, you know, I'm giving this a positive review. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. It's one of the top romantic comedies that I've seen. You know, being a fan of romantic comedies, you know, this one is one of the best that I've seen for sure. It really takes a look at women being single and all that sort of thing. You know, it gives you a look into what that life could be like as a single woman, especially a single woman in New York City, which is where the setting is in this movie, is New York City. So it really gives you an idea about that. It gives you an idea about women and their commitment to, and their longing for romantic relationships as well. So it kind of gives you both ends of the spectrum there. Women in committed relationships, and then women being single as well. It gives you those two things. The only thing that I would have liked to see that was kind of a disappointment to me is that the 4 main characters, Dakota Johnson, Rebel Wilson, Allison Brie, and Leslie Mann, they don't all appear together in any scenes. They don't all appear together on the screen in any of the scenes in this movie. So that was kind of a disappointment to me. A little bit. But not really much of one, because You see Dakota Johnson, Rebel Wilson, and Leslie Mann in a few scenes together. You never see Allison Brie with those three, though. Allison Brie is in the same setting. She's in New York City like these three girls, but she's just not. She's not sharing scenes with these three ladies. So that's a little bit of a disappointment to me, but I kind of can get over it. I can let it go with the great performances that were. I think that keeps it from being an amazing movie for me. Probably the main reason why it keeps from being an amazing movie for me, because these four aren't together in a scene, but this movie's still very good with what it's got, you know. Again, Dakota Johnson and Rebel Wilson, they both steal the show. And Leslie Mann provides a solid comedic presence as well. Allison Brie is also very good in this movie, and the chemistry, again, is just so good throughout the movie. You know these guys, you can tell these guys like working with each other, and it's just a big plus for the movie overall. So again, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. So that is it for my movie review on How to Be Single, D-Rock 1992, out.